July 30th. Draw the cards. Sonny Armour sat just outside the examination room in Equestria County's coroner's office, comparing notes. Inside, Sandalwood was going over the dirty work with a closer look, the medical examiner on duty. He didn't envy her. Coroner duty was nasty, but something you had to get used to in this business. In any case, he pored over his written notes. The FBI didn't like notes taken on tablets, comparing the murder of Lisa Dulots to the murder of Water Melody. Both had tarot cards that left at their kidnapping and where their bodies were found. In the former case, it was the Fool, in the latter, the Chariot. Now, a new girl, this one from San Paloma High, was missing, with the card's strength left behind. If the pattern continued, sometime today, someone should find her naked body somewhere, her heart stabbed through with some item in the gas, her cadaver completely drained of blood with another copy of the tarot card in question. He perused Wikipedia's article onto the major arcana on his phone, but soon gave up. It was layman's information and nothing more. The Fool, the Chariot, strength. I have no idea what these cards mean, he groaned inwardly. Wish Katie had kept up with her tarot knowledge when she briefly fooled around with them in high school. But the only thing she remembers now is that old joke. Play poker with tarot cards, get a royal flush, kill 10,000 people in the process. Then again, given what's going on, maybe that's not much of a joke. Tired eyes looked at the pictures before him once more. Lisa Dulas was looking into going into acting. Water Melody, like Lisa, aspired to the stage. But Indigo Zap had Olympic aspirations. Different ages, different backgrounds. Nothing about the three was similar enough to trigger a look-alike sort of issue. Maybe I need to go to that New Age store downtown. The closest he had ever been to it was the florist across the street. But now was the time, if any. The next door to him opened up, and out walked a very queasy-looking Sandalwood. I swear, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm addicted to bacon double cheeseburgers and chili fries, I think I'd go vegetarian after seeing that. She moaned. You're going to get fat if you keep that up, he teased her. But darling, don't you want a mistress with more cushion for the pushing? She laughed. Seriously, though, she said, plopping down in the chair next to him. This case is weird. Apparently, both victims were killed with a silver knife or something, according to the metallurgy test. The weapon must have been pure silver. Luke said that was practically impossible, because you can't get pure anything. And he was sure was silver. Is that a soft metal? You tell me, you were the nerd at school, she retorted. It turns out the silver was so pure, there are microscopic burns around the edge of the puncture wound, as if the blade drew in static electricity from the shallow area. When he looked at her, she said, you see, silver's for conducting electricity. With, I did pay attention to school on occasion, you know. Whatever, Sandy. Yeah, whatever exactly. And he then said everything he could as he look up regarding this, as well as suggested that they may want to look going into that New Age store. Once he heard his whole explanation, she nodded and said, you know what? I'm probably a little out of it still, but I think you're right. This case is more like one of those ogres and oubliettes things you used to play all the time at school with that nerd horde of yours. That's Dungeons and Dragons, not whatever you said. And frankly, yeah, it does. Let's get going. You can call Hardline and update her on the situation while we drive there. Sir, just do me a favor. What's that? Supination for nuts. The girl's gotta watch her figure, you know. Meanwhile, back with the other sunset. Perhaps thankfully, the sky was unusually overcast today for a funeral. Both Solaire and Sunset Simmer opted to wear regular blouses and skirts, as did Coco and Vanilla. Autumn, Fancy, and others wore suits as the priest committed wintering mix to the earth, promising her a fair fate in heaven. Shimmer could only think of the last time she saw her grandmother. It was a few days before she and her mother moved back to France. Sonny dear, smile. I know it's hard right now, but things will look up, I promise. But Grandma, Daddy's gone, and me and Mommy had to move to Paris. Paris, dear. But I promise we will always be here for you, Sunset, no matter what. But it wasn't there for you. Shimmer thought with some guilt as he watched her grandmother's coffin lowered to the ground. Once we were in France, I didn't call or write you enough. I basically didn't treat you as I should have, and now there's nothing but regrets. It had been her uncle Noblesse that had introduced her to the concept that he'd been named after. Noblesse oblige. Now with great power came great responsibility. Sorry, I take a shot every time I hear that. And as a Princess Bonaparte in the Imperial Dynasty of France, she was beholden to that as much as her father's cousin to right was. And that he sincerely hoped she would never turn out like that buffoon. You didn't fear her. She heard her uncle's voice as she felt his arms laid around her. She wanted you to be happy, Sunset. You lost your father, and your mother was caught in the middle of whatever it was back in France. Mom just wanted you to be happy, and a normal girl. And the fact that you didn't turn out to be spoiled would have made her proud. But I didn't. You're probably beating yourself up about it. Don't. She understood, because that's just the norms of life. Remember, it was your father that chose to go to college here and live at home. I went to college in New Jersey, and believe me, I'm just as guilty of the same thing as blaming yourself for. It's perfectly normal to want to live your own life. I don't doubt Mom did the same with her parents, and probably had the same regrets too. So you mean that it's normal? Don't blame yourself for that, Sunset. Your grandmother loved you too much to never see you blame yourself for such things. At this point, the rest of the family showed up, and I saw there. Did you want us to go with you, or did you want some time alone? Alone, please, the woman insisted. Shimmer looked at her mother and swore that the bright pastels of her mother's hair seemed muted today, as if her hair was in mourning as well. I'd like to spend some time with my husband. And Sunset, Vanilla and I will be waiting by the car, so you take out the time you need. Some of the family staff appeared with additional bouquets to hand to Solara and Simmer. The two nodded silently and walked off, past wintering Mex and her husband, though various members of the family on the plot, and finally to a lovely grave with several plots down. A grave read, Summer Breeze, devoted husband, son of Requiem on Patsy. Okay, Turks, you had this. Ready, Tricks? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Summer Breeze! Makes me feel fine! Summer stood away from her mother to give her some privacy. Her parents had practically a fairy tale marriage since the tragedy, and even now, 8 years since his death, Summer knew her mother still loved him. It was an ache that would never leave Solaire. Shimmer knew, and her mother had tried to date once or twice, without success. Shimmer worried that her mother would grow old and alone, but was constantly reminded that was her mother's cross to bear, not hers. Besides, the only one Shimmer knew that had tried to press his attentions on her lately had been Divine, and that was all types of wrong. After what had seemed to be an eternity of waiting for her mother, Shimmer saw her finally rise from the ground and walk towards her. It's your turn, mon petit tournesol. Understandably, her mother's eyes were red with tears. Are you going to be okay, Mom? Shimmer asked Solaire as the woman reached into her purse for her sunglasses. Those questions are for the living, my child. Solaire said in a voice that broke her daughter's heart. I feel sometimes like I stopped doing that ages ago. Now go. Your father waits. Shimmer sadly nodded and walked over to the Solari marble grave, placing her bouquet by her mother's. Hi, Daddy. It's been a long time. Shimmer could start to feel tears stinging in her eyes, but that was expected. I've been doing okay, and I've grown a lot since the last time I was here. I'm not the same little girl that used to scrape her knees when you taught me how to ride a bike, or complain whenever Bright Frame kissed me on the cheek in second grade. She chuckled at that. Her father explained that he'd tell her what it was all about when she was older. Every day she pressed him as if he was old enough now. I wish you could see me now, in person, and see how much I've grown because of you. Because of everything you taught me. I'm more than just what everyone wants me to be. Tears burned down her cheeks, unstoppable, and a sob uttered from her lips. Daddy, I love you, and I miss you. And I know my life's not over yet, and I still have more adventures to go on, as you always used to tell me, even the ones that I'll never see coming. But I promise you that I'll be the woman you wanted me to be, more than a princess, more than a normal girl. I'll make you and Grandma and everyone proud. I promise that. She stood up, tears running freely, and she said, "Just as you said, Daddy. This girl don't walk, she runs, and I'll keep running for you." She then got up and placed her hand on her father's grave, and as her tears fell on the stone, it gave her a melancholy smile, then turned and walked away. She approached her mother, so let her ask, "How are you holding up?" "Do you remember the story he used to tell me all the time when I was a kid? The magic princess of the mirror?" Solar chuckled. "You know there was no real story, right? He made that up one day when you insisted on a bedtime story. And afterwards he made up a lot more of other stories for you." "I know," Simmer said softly, "and I treasure every one of them, especially the one he told me the night before he died." "What's this?" Shimmer paused as if searching for her memories for the answer. "In the Princess of the Mirror stood at the reflection, looking at the city beyond it, and she smiled, because she knew the town so well, and that it would always welcome her, no matter what, because when you found the place you belong, it means more than anything." "It's taken me years to understand what he meant, but I do now. This is... Daddy loved you and me more than anything. You were his family and his all. And even though he's gone now, he's not really gone. He's watching out for us, letting you know that he still loves you. And still watching me, still with pride." Solar wiped the tears from his eyes. Spoken just as his daughter would. "You mean not like a princess?" "Exactly. You were more to him than that." Meanwhile, back with Spike, who we love to rev on this show. Spike watches the guy with the forest green hair on screen, in a bathtub swarming pancakes, cracked an egg over his head. "I am breakfast," the man announced, his voice uttering from pancakes speakers. The boy laughed. "Totally, Wizard, it's awesome," he exclaimed, before a hand reached over and took the tablet for him. "Hey, I was watching that." Octavia narrowed her eyes. "Spike, how many times have I asked if you're going to borrow my tablet?" Twilight rolled her eyes. "Sonny, remind me to chastise Rainbow for showing him that." Sunset didn't even look up from her breakfast burrito. "Motion noted and granted," she said simply before taking a bite. "Oh, come on, Sonny," Spike cried. "You love that too." "Spike, Rainbow has played that thing to death. So much so that I want to go down and burn the nearest hop, okay?" "So, what's on the agenda today?" Twilight asked, tasting it something before it ended up with Spike getting in trouble again. "I know you got the day off because the cafe's run out of stuff." "Yeah, and after all of yesterday, I honestly could use a break," the flame-haired girl admitted. "But no rest for the weary, I'm afraid." "Why not?" "Trixie tested me last night. Apparently her mother insists that I come in to have my teeth tested because her mother is worried about..." Sunset at this point began air quotes, "my connection to the greater transmetaphysical and cosmological makeup of reality. Translation, she thinks I have no magic." Twilight huffed. As a woman of science, she hated people who believed magic and the supernatural. Sure, she had a religious background. That was paranatural, just as different. The supernatural is nothing but superstition and mumbo-jumbo bunk. "Do you really have to go?" "Probably. I met Trixie's mother a few months back, and I don't think Trix is going to get any peace of mind until I save her from this. God knows she already gets grief from her mom because she thinks Trixie's gay." "I thought Lana was," Octavia asked. "She is, but Trixie's mother thinks Trixie should be too, just so she can touch her Lambada self or some bullshit like that. I think it's just Harmonic Convergence's way of thinking Lyra like her own and keeping tabs on her. And if it takes those two, Bonnie and some other victim in a... I think it's called an Ishatani Corte or something like those lines, the better. Then Harmonic is happy." "Your friend's all weird, Sonny." Octavia suddenly fell silent, as he realized the triplets were part of their friendship. Now suddenly they disappeared. He heard from them since Sunset and Pinky's running with Sonata. Look, maybe we can ask Shiny to look into it. Twilight suggested, knowing exactly what was on her cousin's mind. If they're really in trouble, then they need help. And that's what friends are for, right? Yeah. Octavia agreed, punctuating her sentence by finishing off for Brio. Yeah, I'm going to do some quick laps around the track and then everything should be fine, a young man said on the phone. I should be done by 10, and I'll pick you up by noon. Yeah, love you, honey. See ya. With that, the man put his phone in his holster and began running down the track. His plan was to get a decent 6 miles worth before he hit the shower. Fortunately, he had all of Canterlot State's running track to himself this early morning. Too bad he didn't finish a full lap before he found the body. He turned to rest to his side, vomiting from the corpse. Fingers fumbling, he dialed 911. I do hope you folks listening weren't fond of Indigo Zap. Not much longer, Indigo Zap was confirmed dead. Her body perfectly poised like the others. A starting pistol in her stab wound. Aside from that, she wore the shoes she had on when she disappeared. The rest of her blanched and nude body was otherwise undisturbed. It held in her hands was the Terracrod's strength, as earlier. Elsewhere, damn it! Sweetleaf looked at the engine of her car, which was steaming. The only part of her car that was working. Parents had repeatedly told her that commuting to and from her boyfriend's place in Ashland, Oregon, was going to put excessive strain on her BMW. But fuck it, what did those old folks know? It turned out a lot, given that when she popped open the hood, she couldn't begin to identify parts, much less figure out what was wrong. Look, I don't care. I want a tow truck out here right now, immediately, okay? This is what you jerks get paid for. So he hung up the phone unceremoniously, pissed as fuck about how her morning had started. Sure, yesterday was great. So he spent the past few days at her boyfriend's place, drinking, smoking pot, and doing what came naturally. So much so, she was glad that he brought a case of Trojans. But his parents were supposed to come home today, and while her parents didn't give a fuck about her, his were ultra strict, so she headed home. She had to go home anyway, given that her mother had to go to her boss's funeral today. And that meant she had to watch that little sperm dropping she called her brother. Well, at least afterwards, they were going out of town for the rest of the month. Once she could party down with her friends. It's been a long time getting Mountain Meadow inside her. Hell, maybe if she was willing, she would let her best friend Lakeside into the fun as well. Lake was bi-curious, and Sweet wanted to have some fun. Half an hour later, the tow truck showed up. The driver was pissed. He did get talked down to by customers, no matter how much money they made. Plus, Black Brute had no tow trucks, so he had to come from Weed the next city over. Hey, at least he was making more than enough money, given that people tended to break down in the section of Interstate 5 on a regular basis. As he approached, he groaned. Great, it was a Beamer. Aside from being a price German pieces of shit, anyone knew that if you wanted a classic car, you drove a Cadillac. The license plate read SPLD Girl, which was clearly described the owner. Likely, he mused, the owner was only good for two things: keeping her boyfriend happy and being an embarrassment to her parents. Come on, Wheel Laugh. Play professional, he said, adjusting his bald cap and getting out of the truck. Hey, Lee Tillman here from Miss Sweetleaf. Silence. Sweetleaf? Nothing. He walked to their car, seeing the keys in the ignition, nothing else. And certainly no sign of the girl. The area was relatively flat, and there was no sign of her. Likewise, so you had to be crazy to walk across the interstate. Not that there was much traffic right now. Heading over to the engine, hoping to find a sign, he instead found a single car sitting in the engine block. But he played with the poker, and the boys had shot tons, never seen a playing card like this. Wheel of Fortune, it read. He looked at the image of the overstate modern wheel, and the naked woman spinning it. What the fuck is this shit? Well, at least she might be safe. Arline sat at her desk, giving Cheyenne a little look. Look, I see what you're getting at, but really? He looked across the desk at her. Yes, seriously. I don't know what the connections are, but people don't just leave random tarot cards unless they're seriously fucking with the police, or unless they got an ulterior motive. She sighed. You know, I really wish I could believe that. My first case, I was working with an agent by the name of Monochrome. Boring by the rules agent. Guy should have been a DA because he definitely had the law memorized. Anyway, we were working on a murder case out in Toledo. We've been called in from DC because the local agents investigating found some weird Twin Peaks meets X-File kind of shit. Before you ask, no, none of that shit is real. So Monochrome, never a nickname, always just Monochrome, and I looked into the case. Turns out the killer was leaving clues for us. Rappers, some Turkish candy. Anyways, Monochrome went nuts trying to find a commonality. None of the girls were in that part of the world. Two of their names were Turkish origin, but had since been anglicized. And the closest thing we could find was the three of them worked in the same donut shop once. We then assumed that the killer might have been from Turkey. But there was only one person in all of Ohio who was from there originally, and she was in hospice due to dementia. But we got a lucky break and finally caught the bastard. So what was the angle? Shiny asked. There wasn't one. Guy just had a thing for Turkish candy, and had it ordered via internet. Keep in mind, this case was still in the net was in his infancy, so we never thought to check. Furthermore, he had an accident where, when he was a kid, burned off all his fingerprints, which is why we couldn't get prints either. We ended up getting him through DNA, and even back then it was still dicey. She leaned back in her chair and said, Sometimes, Shiny, there's no commonality. Sometimes a dead lead is just that. I know you're just a beat cop and not a tech, so you would have that kind of experience. So take my advice on this and get what you can out of it. Well, if you don't mind, I'd still like to look into it, just in case. Knock yourself out. Just, if it doesn't pan out, don't lose it like Monochrome did. What happened to him? Guy had a meltdown because his perfectly investigated case turned about anything but. Regional director ended up offering him early retirement, which he took. He was working as a security consultant up in Bozeman, Montana. She lined up before adding, If you're right about this, and I'm going to take a guess and say you're not, then we're in deep shit. Because the last thing we need when we have a paramilitary war about to fall around our ears is a really esoteric serial killer. Yeah, he agreed, rising from his chair. No kidding on that. You know, I'm going to play this part for my little brother, and I just know that he's going to be way more interested in the serial killing, mystical, detective storyline, way over the military and the high school story. He walked back to his desk, where Sandalwood was typing on the computer. So, Hardy, okay? Yeah, but she says she thinks it's a wild goose chase. You're probably right, but you know what? Since I've known you, where shit happens. So excuse me if I doubt the doubter. Meanwhile, back with the person that you are all waiting to see. Sunset walked in front of Mary Witch. Wait, wasn't it called Wicked Wonderland last time I was here? Thankful that parking meters weren't installed on the street yet. The moment she opened her door to her car, Trixie rushed down the store and shouted, Quickly! We have to get out of here! Trixie, what? Sonny, if you're my friend, you will help me escape before it's too late. Oh, there you are, my dearest child. Harmonica confirms and swapped out, dressed in a beautiful silk gown that looked amazing. Had it not looked like something out of the cheesiest 70s occult film Sunset had watched. Given that she wants to feud with her father a week or two past, could always be worse. I see you brought your tears hot for you. We are not lovers! Trixie and Sunset shouted in unison. Oh, dearest ones, you have nothing to fear from me. I always hope for my dearest Beatrix to find your heart of hearts. And with you two tied with Lyra and lovely Kildira, you four will find tantric wisdom with the touch of your souls. What's she talking about? Trixie facepalm. You really don't want to know, Sonny. Oh, it's a splendid thing, dear Armari chirped. I finally found a way to tie you to the manosphere of the universe by way... A strange sound emitted from the store, sounding as if the Dead Can Dance CD was brutally assaulted by Desco refugees for the Saturday Night Fever. Oh, that's the telephone. Excuse me, won't you? Girls... The woman practically guided in, her gown floating in an ethereal breeze, or more likely the motion of her footsteps. Sunset looked at Trixie. Explain. 2 words. My mother. That's enough explanation for you. Sunset sighed. Not really. But why do I get the feeling I'm about to make a huge mistake going in there? Trixie patted her friend on the shoulder. Now you know what the past 17 years of my life have been like. Sunset locked her car, and as Trixie let her in, the flame-haired teen asked, So, the Merry Witch? Trixie nodded. Dad got tired of one too many protests from Fluffy Bunny that amount to nothing. It's not like she had any grounds to sue us. So Dad thought to change the store's name. And given his mom it was a cosmic fortune that came to him in a dream. She giggled. He may not be a magician, but he's got a good bullshit artist as the rest of us. So, are you ready for this? Not really, but I trust you. The smile gave Trixie a sense that was awkward. Well, that's a vote of confidence in me. I just hope your trust isn't misplaced. They did enter the store, only to walk into Lyra, who was walking downstairs, wearing only a towel. Okay, Mrs. C said to Harmonic, where did you say that oil was? Without looking at Lyra, Harmonic said, It's behind the counter, dearie. Let your creative aura take you to new directions. Lyra then caught Sunset and Trixie. Hey, Trixie, we've almost got your room set up. Why do you have a towel on? Sunset asked. The celeste-haired girl rolled her eyes as it were obvious. Well, duh. I'm not walking downstairs naked, you know. Plus, you're not supposed to see things until you're prepared. Prepared for what? Trixie asked. Mom, did you do something while I was out? Hermione smiled sweetly. Well, of course I did, my dear sire. I knew you simply couldn't let your heart's champion live another day without the life force that envelops us all. So, I found a tantric spell that's just divine. Yara. Yeah, Lyra agreed. So while you're out, I've been prepping your room for this and getting ready. Though, the shaving part was kind of rough. I'm going to be sick, Trixie moaned as she realized what her mother had just done. Mom! She said. You didn't. Of course not. That would be offending, and besides, I love your father. I would never do such a thing. Plus, Sunset's underage, Harmonic said affectedly. Fortunately for you, Lyra was more than willing to volunteer. Lyra pulled out an unmarked earthenware jar, walked over to Sunset, taking her friend by hand. Honestly, I think you'll enjoy it. Sunny, though, I didn't know you swung that way. What's going on? Sunset asked. White tantrism, of course. It's supposed to put the divine energy of the Godhead in you, because you have no magic. Lyra explained, scalding her hair. Now, come on, we have to get you saved. Unless you'd rather save yourself. Personally, I recommend the former, so you can get used to... The moment she heard tantrism, Sunset pulled back. She knew what it was. She tried more than once to restore her magic through that means, and Flash had certainly been more than willing to experiment with her body. When she finally realized that things weren't going that way she expected it to, she stopped experimenting, at least in that regard. The smart thing would have been to leave Flash, but I was never smart. Lyra, do you know what the hell's going on? Trixie asked. Yeah, we're supposed to go do the Crown of the Golden Dawn. It's a tantric sex thing that's supposed to help Sunny get her chi back. Granted, I'll have to explain some things to Bonnie, but she'll understand this is all to help Sunny, right? Trixie shook her head. Do you know what the Crown of the Golden Dawn is? Yeah, I read it this morning. 4 women, and all must have sex with one another at least once to gather divine energy to form the macrocosm before the 3 perform the final act on the subliminal to make her attain divine wisdom. No, stupid. How many partners are involved? 4. Why? Trixie crossed her arms at that moment and waited for the thought to kick in. A second later, a horrified look came to her face. That means you and I mean... She started to look as green as her hair. You're like my sister, Trix. How could you even think I would... I didn't, Trixie commented before pointing to her mother. She, however, did. An awkward smile came into Harmoni's face as he'd been clearly holding the canary. I thought it would be best for you to start off an almost benevolent fasting. Meanwhile, Lyra looked as though her world had crashed down on top of her. I'm almost... Trixie and me... Without a second to lose, she ran upstairs towards the restaurant part of the house. A second later, everyone could hear the sounds of retching coming from the bedroom where it was situated. My, I hadn't thought you reacted that badly. So I mused. I thought you two were close, Beatrix. Yes, to the point that you practically just suggested incest by proxy, Trixie seethed. Plus, I'm not a lesbian, for fuck's sake! A second later, the door opened again, and Bon Bon walked in. Okay, I'm here, she announced. Why, honey? Why did you ask me to buy your toys? She then looked at Sunset, who had a mollified look on her face, and Trixie looked like she was about to go Vesuvius. Hey, Bonnie, Sunset said in a voice that was too tightly controlled to be friendly. Did I miss something? Bon Bon asked. You don't want to know, Trixie said as Lyra came back down, still wearing nothing but the towel. 10 minutes later, in a sudden argument between Lyra and Bon Bon that actually drove other customers out of the store, Lyra watched Bon Bon storm out the door, angry. But I wasn't cheating on you, she whispered. Trixie put an arm around her lifelong friend. Lyra, I love you dearly, but you are a world-class idiot. You know that. Lyra immediately leaned her head against the shoulder of the smaller girl. For the record, explain that your plan to sleep with Sunset was just going to be quick, so you could save the good stuff for her. The teenager just sighed. You didn't really put a single neuron of thought into it. I was just trying to help, Lyra said bleakly. I think I better go handle Bonnie, Sunset said, heading towards the door. Lyra, don't do anything stupid while. I'll make sure she doesn't, Trixie assured her. What if I look into a two-person tantric position? Lyra asked. Trixie just hugged her friend closer. Let's get you upstairs, okay?